Over this past weekend, an event took place that people are calling the Secret Magic the Gathering Grand Prix. According to a number of people online, this event was an absolute failure. However, on the upside, it did bring something glorious into existence. These amazing playmats.
Magic. I am a wizard! History. I'm an old wizard! The magic historian. My bones hurt.
Greetings! Owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles, my friends, I hope the day finds you well. We are here today to discuss what people have been calling the Secret Magic the Gathering Grand Prix. What was meant to be a big, glorious event, but unfortunately fell far from the mark. So, I have gathered information from a number of different sources. Some are accounts from people online. Some of the information is directly from the company that hosted this event, but understand that I only have this as a piecemeal kind of story. So, I'm going to give you the details as far as I understand them, but there may be some inaccuracies with what's happened here overall. Because like I said, I got some of the information from different individuals and some of the information from the website of the company itself. Not all of the information seems available. When I click on some of the links, there seem to be some issues. I feel like this event in some ways is almost like Icarus flying too close to the sun kind of level, where it's like you had glorious visions, but unfortunately you fell far from the mark. So first things first, I'm going to give kudos for attempting to try and revitalize the concept of big magic conventions and fests, because I actually really like them as a concept. The last time I was able to go to a big magic event was in 2019 for a magic fest. I got to meet up with another magic creator, Legendary Man, and we hung out. And I got to run into some people who knew about my channel and ultimately just enjoy my time in a big city at a big event. So I like these. There's a lot of frenetic energy that surrounds events like this, and they're a lot of fun. So the kudos goes to the computer and gaming universe for coming up with the concept of TCG Fest 2021. The idea was supposed to be that it would be a $35,000 magic tournament event. That is a massive cash prize, right? I mean, sure, there have been bigger tournaments, but in recent times, with the world under the effect of lockdowns and everything like that, haven't really had the opportunity to go ahead and go to one of these events. So they had really big visions for this. They have information saying, okay, you know what, if we have more than 1,600 people for this event, we're going to have to cut off access for spectators and things like that. So originally when they envisioned this, it was envisioned as genuinely a gigantic GP style event. And if you've never been to an event that has thousands of people at it when it comes to Magic, it's wild. It's almost like looking through a hall of mirrors where you can just see like an endless array of Magic players and tables set up with crazy amounts of trades going on. And I mean, that might be a little bit older school. I don't know how much trading goes on at the big events anymore, especially since it's been a couple years, and who knows how everything is going to kind of shake out. In a way, this was a little bit of like a litmus test to see what the environment was like and if this was really going to be something that could be sustainable. Now, the reason people are calling this the Secret Magic the Gathering GP is because the location of this TCG Fest actually took place in the same center that they had Magic GPs in, all right? So this place had already been used as a venue for Magic Grand Prix, and this TCG Fest was set to take place there, all right? So they had visions of getting like 1,600 different people out. They wanted to have it be, if you've ever been to one of these events, you know it's not just the main event. They have a bunch of side events and things like that going on. They'll have artists coming in doing signings and stuff, and that is really neat. That's a really big like geeking out moment when you realize, you're like, wait a minute, these are the people who are responsible for creating the magic artwork that I love. And they're right here, and you can get them to sign your cards, talk to them about whatever, pick up artist prints. Like, it's a really neat opportunity. GPs, these big fests, are a great opportunity to get your hands on cards that may be hard to find in your area, to meet up with artists and things like that. But there were, as far as I understand, literally no artists showing up at these fests. Now that doesn't surprise me that much, because the artists coming out to fests and things like that, it felt like that was already on the decline. We saw in the past that with conventions, near the lead up to the world shutdown, that there was already this kind of tapering off, because the big event organizers weren't willing to pay the same amount of money to get artists to come out and pay for their lodging and all these sort of things that used to be used to incentivize artists coming out. So I feel like artists coming out had already somewhat been ramped down, and because of the shutdown, these artists would probably have other plans and other projects that they would be involved in and wouldn't really be able to get out to a fest like this on what might feel like relatively short notice. Now, as far as I understand, the information about this fest was posted well in advance of the event, but unfortunately, not enough word was spread about this. Like, I am pretty keyed into what's going on with Magic the Gathering, right? I literally run a YouTube channel where I talk about Magic the Gathering constantly. And I have live streams where people are coming in and popping up saying things to me. I go to Reddit, I go to Twitter, I go to Facebook, I go to all these different locations to glean information. Twitch, like, I'm all over the place when it comes to digging up information about Magic. And literally the only thing I saw about this event in its entirety was a meme that I didn't quite get referencing the playmat. I was just like, I am out of the loop. What are people talking about? A secret GP. So really, secret is just a fun way of kind of playing around with the idea that this didn't get out into the general consciousness of people. So this is one of the problems for the event, right? The fact that nobody was really aware of it. Now, to continue on with what I was saying about the artist aspect, so maybe not seeing artists at a festival is one thing. You'd be like, okay, or whatever. But what you can usually expect to see at these events are card vendors, right? People who set up shop and basically buy and sell tons of Magic cards. If you've been to any of these fests, you will have seen the crazy amount of activity that goes on at these tables. Hundreds of thousands of dollars can easily be passing back and forth on the table, which can justify the costs of vendors paying for one of these tables. At these festivals, my understanding is, now rates may have changed and whatever, this is all just information I've gleaned from here or there. So like I said, take everything I'm saying with a grain of salt. The vendor tables at these events could easily cost $10,000 for the space, which is an insane amount of money. But at the same time, you can do an insane amount of business. If you're doing hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of business, then all of a sudden $10,000 isn't that much to ask. I mean, it's still a lot of money, but comparatively, you know what I mean? If you're making $200,000, then 5% of that gets eaten up in the cost. So with this particular fest, vendors were, from what I've seen, being told that the cost for vendor tables would be $5,000. And apparently nobody took them up on that offer. So they didn't have any Magic the Gathering vendors. Now that is a big problem, but it's not automatically a knock against the festival itself and the planners of the event, right? First of all, I said that the vendor tables could go up to 10 G's, maybe even more, I don't know. So $5,000 doesn't sound like it's at the extreme limit, like they're asking for more than they should or anything like that. However, it is a very big indicator of how all the vendors that would normally travel to an event like this feel about the prospects of a festival. And it might have been something that should have made the organizers possibly go and look and go, wait a minute, you know, we've got people who are essentially, they're not necessarily naysaying, but their hesitation, their desire to avoid paying these fees and not coming to the event, that could have been a little like canary in the coal mine moment. Although, to be fair, I mean, somebody has to be the one to go ahead and say, okay, I think we're at the point where we can get these events rolling again. So like a part of me admires the guts that it takes to say, we're going through with this festival, we're making it happen, even though literally we have no artists and no vendors that want to be a part of it. I mean, you could still have the mentality of, if nobody else is really doing this and people are thirsting for this, then you could corner the market. Like, there is a certain logic to looking at the world and going, there's bottled up demand. There's people who desperately want to go out to events and enjoy themselves. And I fall into that category. Like, where I am in the world, we were locked down for like the longest. So I definitely have a hunger for like events and things like that. And if something like this had happened near me, let's say Toronto, which is like an hour or so drive away, I would be there. I would take a bus up and I would go to that event. So I think part of the event's problem was really like the optic level. Timing is going to be an issue too, because they weren't able to get vendors in on it as well. But the optics of actually making people aware of it were a very big issue, because like I said, they were expecting, like, they had plans in case more than 1,600 people showed up for this event. And there were people there for Pokemon and other things as well. But to give you an idea, they thought that they would have up to 1,600 people in terms of Magic players. When I looked at the final standings that were posted on their website, which was listed under standards, which I for some reason I thought it was funny because it looked like a combination of standings and standard, whatever. But regardless, it looked like there was 70 people. 70 compared to 1,600, 1,600, right? So they didn't get like 10% of what they considered they might get. 10% would be 160. They didn't even get half that, right? They got less than 5% of these outstanding expectations. And you have to understand that the main event cost $85 to enter. $85. Now, if you're playing for $35,000, you know what I mean? $85? Okay, you look at that and you go, wow, that's a pretty big step up. But unfortunately, based on the way the pricing structures looked, now, again, everything I'm saying here, I'm just gleaning from whatever, it looks like the top prize was about $300. And if you go, we're going to make you come to this event, pay $85, and the top prize is $300. That's really, really bad news. They also did something else to me that seems really, really unwise, and that is having a cost for spectators to enter. Now, I don't know if this was done out of an abundance of caution, where they were excited about the amount of people who might come out, and they went, you know what, we need to make sure that we're utilizing our space as best as possible. So if we're going to allow other people to come in who aren't paying to play in these events, then we need to basically make sure we get some money off of them. So if you just wanted to come into this event and watch, it was $30. $30 as a spectator fee, which blows my mind. I've been to a bunch of Magic events, and it costs nothing to walk in. Spectators who walk in can still bring money into the pockets of the artists, the vendors that are there, any sort of food or beverage sellers can all benefit from it as well. There's no real downside to letting spectators wander into your event, right? So to me, charging $30 for it was absolutely a terrible decision to make. And then you also have the fact that if you wanted a 2-day Commander pass, so this is just the ability to play Commander at the convention, that was $80. $80 for an event where the biggest tournament had 70 Magic players in it. Right? Like, that's my understanding. That's absolutely insane. Now, as for how the tournament was run, I will say that firsthand accounts from people who said they actually went to the event and played in it, they said that the event was run smoothly and actually went faster than other GPs they've been to. But let's also be fair and say that you only had 70 people to deal with. So how much easier is it to smoothly run an event with 70 people? 70 people is so few that I've run tournaments with that many people in them. So that's doable. I've never run tournaments where there was thousands of people. I imagine that's obviously genuinely going to slow things down. But from the perspective of the event being run, it was run effectively and smoothly in terms of tournament progression, which is that is a nice thing to hear. And I do want to be fair and point out the positives. Now, for anybody who actually played in the event, the other positive is they're the owner of what is probably the most meme-tastic playmat ever made for a convention, and also probably the most lawsuit worthy. Right now, I don't know for sure, so I'm just guessing here, but I think that this is probably bootleg. I don't think that they, and again, just speculating here, but I don't think they got permission from like Wizards of the Coast, and who owns Yu-Gi-Oh! And Dragon Ball? Is that Konami? So Wizards of the Coast, Konami, the people who make Pokemon, does Nintendo own Pokemon now, or do they just license it? And whoever that lady in the middle is, I don't feel like this is an officially licensed product. So the convention may be looking at legal troubles if they get sued over this, because this was like a big public event. I don't mean like huge in terms of attendance, but a full-on publicized event where they're using intellectual properties that they don't own for this. And on top of that, I mean, I have to admit, this playmat is so poorly done that it makes me want it. Like, this is the official playmat. I didn't draw this. Like, in the front, if you look at the front and you see the Pikachu and the Dragon Ball Goku guy there in the front, you're like, they look okay. And then when you go to the back and you see Liliana, you go, oh God, Liliana, what have they done to my girl? What happened to you? Actually, I saw like a meme picture or something. Somebody made a reference where they basically showed like Liliana's face like this, and then the quote from the one magic card where it's like, Gideon, why did you save me? And it takes an entirely different context. Like, look at Liliana. Imagine that on a magic card. This is like low-level, let your kids do fan art. Let's be very real. And because it's official and done for a business, it's just, I can't help it. When I see something like this, I'm like, bro, I can't believe you officially released this. But the thing is, this is now a meme playmat. There was 5,000 of these made. And according to the information that I saw online, there's no way that there are more than 1,000 of these that made it out into people's hands, which means the majority of these mats are probably going to be sold like through, I don't know, PayPal or not PayPal, so that's how you pay for stuff on like eBay or some other outlet like that. I don't know 100% what the tournament organizers are going to do, but I expect that they're probably just going to be like, well, I guess we'll put the playmats up for sale. So the question becomes, how many of these playmats can be sold and get out into the wild before one of these IP owners or multiple of these IP owners just drops the copyright hammer and brings legal action against them, which makes this probably a pretty rare mat. My guess is no more than 2,000 of these are going to make it out into the world, and I desperately want to own one. I don't know if any of you can make it happen and get Papa one of these playmats. You will be a hero, because God, man, Liliana, the face and the eye makeup. Is she crying? Is pen ink leaking out of her eyes? And look at the way she's holding the card. And look at the way Goku's holding the cards. It looks like he's going like this and showing the cards to Liliana. Like, what's going on? What happened to the neck? I don't know who the chick is between the Yu-Gi-Oh guy and Liliana. What happened to her neck? It looks like she's been decapitated. This is so bad, man. It's so bad. It's so bad that it's so good. I can't help myself. Honestly, I tried to record this video multiple times because I got, like, whenever a company makes something that they professionally, like, this is supposed to be like, yeah, we're gonna have the biggest fest that card games have seen in like the last 2 years, and we're gonna get 1,600 people out. We're gonna have such an amazing event that people should pay $30 just to get in the door. And then they're like, it's $85 to get into the event, and you're like, oh, that's a lot of money. And it's like, yeah, but hold on, you get this playmat. So look at it from the perspective of, like, I don't know how you wouldn't be able to view this as a failure when you look at it from the perspective of somebody Like, imagine somebody who traveled for hours and they're like, okay, it's going to be $85 and we're playing for 35 grand. And you get there and they're like, it's $85. And you look around and the place is almost empty. Instead of thousands of people, you got less than 100 playing in your event. And then they're like, here's your playmat. And you look at the playmat and you're like, oh no. Oh no. Oh no! And then you play in the event and they're like, you've done it. You've defeated everybody. Your prize, sir, $300. I mean, $300. It's still more than 85. You're still up $215. But good God, what an unfortunate fail. I wish that the event had went better. I would love to see things flourish. But, I mean, with the playmat, I'm going to be real. This is the whole reason I talked about the event, because the playmat is the best. It's the best! The little unit is so good! Oh, God! Okay, all I'm going to do now is laugh about the playmat. So, let's end it off. Thanks for coming by, everybody. Big shout out to my patrons. Buy one of my playmats. It looks a lot nicer than this. I'll put the link in the description. Oh, God, somebody get me one of these, please. Anyhow, see you next time, friends. I can't believe it's real.